The Reds are calling up their number one prospect. What does it mean for the big league roster? Well, we're going to tell you on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. I am joined by guest host Eric Matthews. Jeff Carr took one look at that Cardinal series and made a break for the beach. He's going to be out all week. Eric will be filling in a couple times. Tim Daniel will be here. We got you covered, even with Jeff on the road. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We've been covering this team in podcast form for a combined 14 years around here, me and Jeff. I've been doing it for 7 seasons. We love baseball. We love the Reds. We love talking about the Reds. We love talking about baseball. Eric's no different. He loves talking about all that stuff as well. The good Northern Kentucky boy that he is. On today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit later about those Blue Jays coming to town. It's a big, big series, and it means a lot actually for both teams. Lots of good pitching coming. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. The Reds need to push the reset button after the Dodgers sweep and then dropping 2 of 3 to the Cardinals. There is still a little bit of hope, but they are out of wiggle room. They need to push the reset button. We'll tell you what that looks like here in just a little while. But where we are going to start is the Reds have done it. Sal Stewart is coming up. The Reds' number one prospect is getting the call. He will be making his big league debut. We're going to tell you what that could look like, what that means for this team, what this means for this roster on today's episode that is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. It's 1 week away, folks. Visit FanDuel app today to start planning your futures bets right now. All right, Eric, thanks for being here. And let's dive right into this because there has been a swell of comments, a swell of clamoring, of noise out there for why isn't Sal Stewart here? Why haven't the Reds made a move? Why haven't the Reds done anything? Well, he's coming up. I think they were just waiting for the rosters to expand. I don't think they cared whether or not he was going to be playoff eligible, even if they do make the postseason. Sal Stewart's coming to town. How do you foresee his role coming onto a team that still technically is in the hunt for a playoff spot?
Short answer, I don't know. Honestly, what move do they make to make one room for him in the lineup if they're going to play him every day? Because that's the part I'm kind of hung up on, is if he's going to play every day, where's he going to play at? Matt McLain's hitting better. Sal Stewart, if you look at his numbers, he could be labeled not necessarily a defensive gem, I think is the best way to put that, because he has bounced around in the infield. So is he a DH? Is he going to play at first? But then you take away Spencer Steer, who's had a really good defensive year at first base. That's what I don't know, is how are they going to use him? Now, one thing that I did come out of this, and I dug a little deeper in this, they made the move today, not on September 1st. So he's been added to the 40-man, and Connor Joe has been dropped. Now, he did accept his assignment to Louisville. So Sal Stewart, if they make the playoffs, is eligible for the playoff roster. So that's interesting. And a positive sign if whatever he can do over these next 27 days. Where he fits and what he does, I really don't know. What he's doing in Louisville is impressive, but I think you and I are on the same page here. We can't assume and we can't really hope that he'll come up here and just knock the door down like he did in Chattanooga and in Louisville this season. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to unpack there. First of all, I think that he's going to play all of those spots. I think that they're going to treat him like they wanted to treat Spencer Steer. We're going to see him at DH. We're going to see him at first base. We're going to see him at second base. And we're going to see him at third base, giving guys days off, moving guys into different spots. I think the only place we won't see him is shortstop. He hasn't played there. Where he has played over the last couple years, just looking at his Louisville numbers right now, this season in Louisville, he has 23 games at third base. He has 13 games at second base. And they just recently got him a couple starts at first base, I think in preparation for this call-up. You know, looking at what he's done over this season, Eric, it's pretty impressive. You can break it down by level. He got 80 games at Chattanooga. In those 80 games, his slash line was 306, 377, 473. They called him up to Louisville. He's played in 38 games there. That got him a grand total of 143 at bats that he did not waste pretty much any of them. 315, 394, 629 slugging percentage. His combined numbers in the minor leagues this season, 309, 383, 524. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to translate to the major league level. I don't know that he's coming to Cincinnati and slugging 500, but I think it has clearly earned him the right to get the cup of coffee. I want to be careful how we build the narrative around Sal Stewart, because the clamoring that I was talking about that's been building over the last several weeks is a clamoring of an expectation that Sal Stewart's going to get the call up, step into that batter's box at Great American Ballpark, and hit 30 home runs this month. That's not how this is going to go. Now, if he comes up and performs well and hits, 275 or above and hits 3 or 4 home runs during this stretch, that is majorly success in my mind. But I think we need to be careful, because we do this around here. We set the bar so high that the only thing a player can do is disappoint us. And I don't want to do that with Sal. I think he's going to be a boost to this lineup. I think he's going to bring some energy, but there's going to be days he goes over. There's going to be days he struggles, and he's going to even make errors in the field because they're going to move him around a lot. So don't use these next 3 weeks to really form an overall opinion of Sal Stewart. Let it be what it's meant to be. Him coming up, learning what it's like to play in the bigs, learning what it's like to do major league routines and travel and do all the things they do in Major League Baseball to get him ready for next year, because that's really what this is about. Maybe he helps the Reds a little bit now, but this is about getting him ready for next year to maybe play a key role in the 2026 Reds.
I think there is something on here. It's probably gonna rub people the wrong way of my thought process here, because there has been some up and downs this year with the way Tito has managed and what he's done with young guys. On the positive side, you have what he has done with Noelvi Marte, which I saw that from the get-go. He was putting Marte in positions to let him succeed and let him try a few things out. And then they noticed, what if we put him in right field? Marte worked with the outfield coach and Cal Gill, and look at what happened. That throw he made in Game 3 against the Cardinals that ended up being reverse call, but that throw was Raul Mondesi-esque. And that kind of made everybody kind of perk up a little bit more, like going, okay, this might be the guy permanently in right field for years to come. Everything's looking that way. But I think the reason why is because Tito has managed a young player the correct way, even though at the time it was frustrating because Marte, he would have some good at-bats, and then he'd be taken out for a defensive replacement later in the game, even though his spot on the line would come a little bit later. It has helped Marte. He's been the most of it. The reverse is Will Benson, and we all know kind of how that's gone this past year with him and his situation. But if I feel like a manager like Tito knows how to work with younger guys and how to put them in the right position to be successful. He's done that throughout his entire career. He did that when he first started with Philadelphia. He did that with the Red Sox, and I think he's done it in bits and pieces here. That's why I think Stewart getting called up now is not only the right move, it's also setting expectations that are certainly kind of mild in terms of the organization. If you would have called him up 2 weeks ago, or even going in the Cardinal series, and he doesn't get played as much people think, or he goes out there and he does, and he goes over, everything starts to change again. So I think calling up now is the right move to make. I'm interested to see how Tito handles him, and are they going to do what Spencer Steer was originally supposed to be? I think you're right, Steve. I think you are close to that on kind of how we're going here with him and where he's going to fit in this lineup. Just don't put him in the top third of the lineup. 1 through 5, leave it alone. Put him in the bottom half, batting 7th or 8th, and let's see what he can make the most out of it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that one way or another, he's going to get at-bats, he's going to get playing time, and we're going to talk about a lot of what you just had to say about Noelvi Marte. We're going to talk a lot about what the rest of the roster looks like, and really the need for a reset, the need for a regrouping as they head through these next couple series that are very, very important. We're going to get into all of that coming up here in just a minute. Hey, Locked On Reds fans, are you paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or at Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. You can use my limited time promo code SEASON, that's SEASON, and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 per year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app today and use my limited promo code SEASON, that's SEASON, to get 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill up. That's promo code SEASON, SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets back right into the app. I love using FanDuel. I love keeping track of what's going on. It lets me bet however I want. I can do money lines. I can do player props. I can do 3-item parlays. The lists go on and on and on. And it's just quick and easy and the best way to add a little more energy to the game on Sundays. So get in on the action right now. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and get started today. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get $300 in bonus bets back. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and what make your favorite podcasts, how we can be even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions you have about our advertising and anything else you might want to know. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link down in today's show description. Also, make sure that you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming for you. That includes the Locked On Reds podcast, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Also, get you Tim Daniel live after each and every Reds game with the Reds postcast. Click subscribe so you get all of it. All right, Eric, we got to dive back into this now because Sal Stewart is coming. We've talked about where we thought he'll play, how we think the Reds will use him, which is kind of a super utility type of role, I think. You hit on one of the things in that last segment that I wanted to talk about this segment. So let's start there. I don't know if you caught Jeff and I's show after the Dodger series, but it was very much a rant, a cathartic cleansing of our disgruntledness, really.
Oh, I saw.
And you know, one of the things I said in that is I don't want to see Noelvi Marte play anywhere else but right field the rest of the way, and he should be out there every day. Right-handed pitcher, left-handed pitcher, I don't care. And that throw is the reason why. The more comfortable he gets in right field, the better he is going to get, the better he is going to be. He's going to learn just the right angles on the throw, just the right height on the ball, how to just get it past the cutoff man when he wants to. He's going to learn all those things through repetition. Just keep putting him in right field. He's going to be great out there. He could be a true great right fielder, especially the way it seems that he's going to be able to hit. I love that. For the rest of the team, they need to take these opportunities to have some days off and move around and do different things, because this team is in a position now where it can't lose any more of those games that they should win. Those games, if you've heard us talk about that, this team has really squandered away opportunities. You know, there's a list of about 10 games that they lost that they should have won. And that would have made a huge difference in where they sit in the season standings right now. To recap as we record, thank goodness the New York Mets can't get their stuff together. They lost 3 of 4 to the Miami Marlins. And as bad as it's been for the Reds over the last couple series, they still sit just 4 games out of the final wild card spot, with 3 against Toronto this week, followed by 3 against those Mets. The Reds have to win. I think that the approach to this, Eric, should be never mind what's happened in the rearview mirror. What's happened between opening day and yesterday really doesn't matter at this point. The only thing matters is the game you're playing today. They need to stop standings watching. They need to stop thinking about, oh, I lead the league in errors, or, oh, I haven't done this, or I've been slumping, or I should hit more home runs. None of that matters. They need to worry about the pitcher on the mound. And if they can win series, treat every series like a playoff series, win 2 of 3, win 3 of 4, they're going to make up this ground, and they still could snatch that final wild card spot.
I wish most fans were as optimistic as you just were for those last 30 seconds on forget the last few months and in certain ways forget home run numbers, error numbers. I wish more looked at it that way, but I can't agree with you more, and that's why I remain optimistic. Is this team is a game over 500, and when you and I spoke back during spring training, and we did a couple of shows together, we wanted this team to show improvement. We wanted the pitching to step up. We wanted certain guys to kind of get in grooves. A lot of what we wanted to happen has happened. And the thing you can't forget, we're in September and we're talking about potential playoff baseball. We're in a playoff race right now to get in. And I couldn't be happier about that. Now, do I wish we were in the Milwaukee Brewers situation and we're fast approaching 110 wins? Of course I do. But you look at what this team is doing, they're kind of sticking to the plan and where they want to kind of go. So you look at this last month, you look at the schedule, the Mets schedule is just as difficult as the Reds, which gives me hope. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is the Cardinals schedule, because the Cardinals aren't that far behind. But that's another conversation for another day, potentially. One thing I think that cannot be lost in this, the Reds pitching since the All-Star break is the best in the majors. You take their bullpen, you take their starters, their pitching numbers are the best in all of Major League. Going into the month of September, 4 games back. That cannot be lost in this conversation, because that is what gets you in the playoffs, and that's what makes you successful in the playoffs. Now, is the hitting going to be there? Oh, it's going to be interesting to see. Can Austin Hayes do what he's done the last 8 games? Can Matt McClain be consistent and not go in a week to 2 week slump again? He's hit back-to-back games, home runs. Okay, cool. Can Ellie keep hitting? What is Sal Stewart going to do? Is Marte going to continue to be one of the top hitters in the National League right now? If there is some form of consistency from what is still a very young team, 4 games can be made up in 27 with 2 teams that have difficult schedules remaining for the last month. I wish it was more comfortable, but we're talking about potential playoff baseball in September, and we have not had that for a very, very long time. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. And am I going to get my heart broke? Are you? Probably. But yes. I much rather.
The answer is yes. We're all going to get our hearts broke.
Than not. I'd much rather be in love than not. That's how I feel right now.
You know, you hit on a lot of things there. If Austin Hayes is going back into one of those big outbursts of production, it's the perfect time. If Matt McClain is finally figured it out and adding some pop to his swing and going to be that guy the rest of the way, Jeff and I have both been saying that this injury that he was coming off of, this has been a very long rehab assignment is what really has happened this year for him to find himself. If he has finally found himself, that makes a big difference. Now, in my rant on Friday, I said I was really tired of every strategy around here being built on I hope. I hope that Matt McClain has figured it out. I hope that Austin Hayes is going to do these things. I hope that Sal Stewart comes up here and is productive. I hope. But what you said remains true. It rings true. This team is still battling for a playoff spot in the month of September. And as frustrating as it is, because that's been the theme of this season, they have done exactly what we have asked of them since opening day. They have just done it the most frustrating way possible. And they continue with that theme. They're very inconsistent, but one thing they're consistent at is doing that. It's finding the way to be the most frustrating and then landing where we thought they should land anyway. So if they land in the playoffs, they will have accomplished a masterclass in being able to piss me off and still achieve the goals. I don't know how they could top what they've done this season. If I had hair, it would all have been pulled out already.
That's why I'm wearing a hat right now, and I'm getting gray in my beard. But I think this is probably one of the most important parts is 2023 was memorable for a lot of reasons. It wasn't memorable because of a playoff push. A lot of us kind of forget the playoff push in 2023 fell flat in its face. It didn't happen. This year, this could be another memorable year because this team could get in. It could get hot. And I agree. The coulda, woulda, shoulda, and the hope, I'm with you. Which goes back to the point I just made. You cannot say no to the numbers. The pitching is the best in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. That's not hope or coulda or woulda or shoulda. That is a fact. And you have that, which could get healthier with Chase Burns. There is that floating around. He may be activated on Friday and go to the bullpen with Nick Martinez staying there. This pitching staff could get stronger as they make this push. The hope is that the offense can be somewhat of consistent. And who's that going to be?
Well, if you like pitching, then this is the series for you coming up against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Reds are bringing their best pitchers, and the Blue Jays are bringing good pitching as well. We're going to talk about this series with the Toronto Blue Jays coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I love checking to see where Prize Picks has the projection set. I think everybody is going to be sleeping on the Bengals. Everybody is going to be betting that the Bengals get off to yet another slow start. But you and I know better. Joe Burrow is going to get it done against the Cleveland Browns. I'm taking more on Joe Burrow for touchdowns. I'm taking more on Joe Burrow for passing yards, and you should do the same. To get in on the action, just download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can listen on your favorite podcasting app. We are pretty much on every single one of them out there. If you can't find us on the one you want us to be on, shoot Jeff a message. He'll make it happen for you. Also, make sure you checked out Locked On MLB Game Night. They watch every game every night so that you don't have to. They break down all of Major League Baseball with the experts from the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Eric, a 3-game set with the Toronto Blue Jays. I love the Toronto Blue Jays. They're a fun team. They have a lot of talent. I just wish they weren't playing so good right now because the Reds really need this series. Toronto comes into town 20 games over 500. And while the Reds are throwing some good pitching in this series, Hunter Greene goes today. Nick Lodolo goes tomorrow. And then we see if Zach Littell can bounce back from his last start. They're not putting any slouches on the mound for the Blue Jays. Chris Bassett throws on the first game. Jose Barrios throws on the second game. And then we get Shane Bieber. You remember him? Shane Bieber is back making his 3rd start of the year. This is going to be an interesting series. And it really boils down to, I think, something you said in the last segment, which is this pitching is going to be good. Hunter Greene's going to do Hunter Greene things. Nick Lodolo is going to do Nick Lodolo things. We hope Littell bounces back. The question is going to be, what can the Reds offense do against these pitchers? I wish I could be as exuberantly confident that they're going to be able to get to these guys. My hope is with these starters that the Reds hitters come up, they battle, they foul off a lot of pitches, and they get into the bullpen sooner than later, I think is probably the answer to the Toronto Blue Jays starting pitching.
You describe the Blue Jays as fun. I describe them as scary. So that's a fine line, I think, sometimes. You got to also remember Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo, and Zach Littell are coming off of starts that weren't their best. They show flashes. Hunter Greene wasn't bad, but it wasn't Hunter Greene. Nick Lodolo got knocked out by the 4th inning. Littell gave up a big home run. All three are kind of coming off of subpar starts compared to what they've done, which is why going into this one with a little bit of swagger. because those three are competing against each other, and they're competing against themselves along with competing to get in the playoffs. So this point in the rotation against this offense of the Blue Jays is actually a bigger test and a bigger, again, swagger and confidence than I probably should have right now, given how the last 7-8 days have gone. At the same time, I'm with you because I've said it a couple times in the last 25 minutes, the offense, and we've been saying that for the last 4 or 5 months, is what is this offense going to look like? And this offense is better when Andujar is in it. But is Andujar healthy? Is that quad? I don't know. But when he is hitting cleanup, this lineup is better. It gives support to Ellie. It doesn't put a whole lot of pressure on Austin Hayes. And it helps the bottom of the lineup because Brian Hayes has come up with some key hits at times when he needs to, when he's been at the bottom of the lineup. And then you throw Sal Stewart in there, or even the potential that Spencer Steer's like, okay, I need to start hitting now because this kid may be playing a little bit more first base. You want to say that the offense is going to be inspired by what the pitching is going to provide against Toronto, and the fact that the Toronto offense is probably one of, if not, we'll say top 3 offenses in the entire American League right now. So I'm optimistic, but I'm also scared lifeless almost because every game matters now.
I agree with you on Andujar. You look at his splits, and over the season, right-handed splits 292, 336, 443. Left-handed splits, are 380, 405, 563. So definitely with left-handed pitching. Righties going for Toronto. I think I still run him out there. I at least try and get him in the game every game. If you got to pinch hit him in later when you get into the bullpen, I'm fine with that. But you're right. He makes a real impact on this lineup. I think this is where it's time to prove it. This is where Austin Hayes has to be Austin Hayes. This is where Matt McLain has to be the Matt McLain we have wanted him to be, and the guy that's hit a couple home runs the last couple days and gives you really good defense. That's who Matt McLain has to be the rest of the way. And that's kind of what I was trying to set up when I said earlier, like, let's not care anymore about what happened between opening day and yesterday, because right now, this is a playoff series. The Reds need to win 2 of 3 to get to this Mets series that really, I never go out and say the Reds have got to sweep this team. Oh, for the love of God, do they got to sweep these Mets? Nothing better could happen for the Reds this week than them going out and sweeping the Mets. They can make up a ton of ground this week against a New York Mets team that has been playing terrible. And it starts today. It starts against these Blue Jays. Hunter Greene has to go out there and deal. I need 7 strong innings from Hunter Greene, just blowing the ball past people. We need prime ace Hunter Greene in this game to set the tone, because I think you're right. I think Hunter Greene's done that. Nick Lodolo's coming out tomorrow and trying to match it or beat it. And that's what this team needs to do right now. It is time to build the fire. It's time to build the hunger. Quite honestly, they have looked very flat. They looked really flat in the Los Angeles series against the Dodgers, and they looked really, really bad in those first 2 games. And to some extent, there were some things even in the 3rd game that they won against the Cardinals. It's time to get it together. Playtime is over. These are professional athletes that get paid to do one thing. That's make the playoffs. The time is now.
I want to make this point as we're wrapping up today's conversation. There are some guys here that I don't think we've thought about this or really talked about this. Andujar, Hayes, Littell, and to some extent Lodolo, and to some extent McLain are all playing for better contracts. Andujar is a free agent at the end of the year. Littell's a free agent at the end of the year. Lodolo has 1 more year on his deal with the Reds. McLain was offered extension at the beginning of the season or during the offseason that he turned down. Well, the rate that he's been going this year, where is he going to be at if there's a contract extension spoke about, or how this is going to go because of how this year has been? So you start, and then Hayes has a mutual club option that's $12 million for next year, or a $1 million buyout. All these guys going into the last month of the season on a playoff push are playing for bigger money. They're playing for security. that has got to be motivation along with getting in the playoffs. That fans, we don't really think about too much, but it's a very real thing that players have to take consideration, because Andujar has not had a season like this. I want to say 6 seasons where it's been this consistent. Now, he's been injured, but all these guys are playing for something. And that's just outside of just the team or just being successful. They're playing for contracts. I think that's going to be interesting to watch how those guys that I just mentioned are going to be throughout this last 4 weeks.
I think I agree with you. The only thing I would correct is I think Lodolo has a couple years. This is his 4th year.
I thought he had one more.
22, 23, 24, 25. So 2 more years. Okay, 6 years team control. He's got a couple more years. But your point is not lost. I think you're absolutely right. It starts today, folks. They need to go out. They need to beat the Blue Jays. That's just all there is to it. If they want to remain in this playoff hunt, we're going to keep watching these things. This is going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Thanks to Eric for joining us from the island of Oahu at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. If you have not found yourself a second team that's not in your area to follow, get on the socials right now. Follow the University of Hawaii. Eric is doing a lot of great digital content for them, and they are just a scrappy, fun bunch of athletes. There's my plug for UH. By the way,
go Bows.
That's where I went to school, folks. That's going to do it. As always, we're going to be back in your feast tomorrow. We're going to break down Sal Stewart's debut. We're going to hopefully be breaking down a Reds win. We're keep gathering up the news, the notes, the information, the rumors, and the reports, because we are going to keep you locked on Reds every single day.